Rugby World Cup 2021, folks. England and France, in terms of the pool stages, probably one of the highest billed games. Something about the games that get the high billing, they never quite live up to the expectations. We'll go through some key events and stats, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. But, I mean, this game has a grandstanding finish, which is cool. But like I said, so many of those games which get the high billing don't often live up to it. And this one, it was a wee bit messy, a bit of a defensive masterclass from the French. They held England out for long periods of time, so absolutely big credit to the French, and they had a couple of injuries earlier as well. But yeah, just in terms of ease on the eye, this is not the easiest product that you will have ever consumed. Sansuis, the 9 for France, who's such a key player in their squad, goes off with a leg injury early, which is very bad news. And then Ménager, the number 8, also goes off. She was knocked out cold, making a tackle on somebody's hip with her head. So, bad news for the French having to make 2 early substitutions. But from England, all the possession, all the territory, could they score points? Not really. French defence, absolutely brutal. One of those games, like I mentioned, it's a masterclass. The fact that they conceded so few points was kind of maddening if you were just looking for England to score. England just refused to kick threes. I swear, if they'd kicked threes, they could have been up, I don't know, at least 15 points to 0 at halftime. They probably scored that try, plus get, 9 points in penalties. England would have been up easily more than they were. But they just refused to go for it. Eventually, they did get the first try of the game through Scarrett on 24 minutes. First and only for England. They went 13 phases with advantage. And eventually, Scarrett managed to squeak through a gap. So, 7 points to 0 with 76% possession and pretty much not quite total domination, but more or less. As I said, the French have just been making tackle after tackle. Vernier, the 12, she loves putting in some big hits. She gets penalised for one, which a few years ago is certainly a clean hit, but she's pinged for lifting above the horizontal. And eventually England, on 39 minutes, opt for a 3 at last. So they get 10 points on the board before half-time. Now, 10 points to 0, that's a pretty decent lead, but 73% possession, 69% territory, 14 defenders beaten to 1. They've only had 1 clean break, which I think is a key stat. 1 clean break to none. Clean breaks is often an indicator of when you've absolutely, brutalized the opposition defense. Not necessarily brutalized, but you've beaten the opposition to defense to the point where they are clean through. That's the stat, which is usually a pretty good indicator of tries. So 1 clean break, 1 try. Tackles is 127 by the French to 35 by the English. So, the English attack, to be honest, seemed to lack a bit of creativity, and the French defence was just able to gobble things up and win turnovers. So, from that point of view, England, I think, will be a bit disappointed, but it's hard to be disappointed when you've just been so dominant. France haven't really been at the races, but France are only 1 try, 1 intercept from flipping this game on its head. The start of the second half, it's knock-ons, it's kicking out on the full. It's line-out errors, it's scrum free kicks and penalties. It's not pleasant stuff, not pleasant viewing. And there's handbags. On 55 minutes, England can't score from a 5-metre line-out. They've had multiple advantages and whatnot. There's handbags because they are clearly frustrated. France are pretty pumped to be hanging on. 61 minutes, England opt for a 3. They have to, really, because they just can't get anything out of it. They get nothing, so they take the 3. I wrote game over ? And then, of course, 2 or 3 minutes later, France just 1 chance, 1 try. Legit. They go for a cross kick to the right winger, I think it's Grisez. She steps into some space. She does get tackled, but she manages to offload to her mate, who scores on 64. So France, who've not been at the races, they've been defending for days. A great conversion means it's 13-7. 13-7 is properly game on. That's what I mean. You're only 1 try away from being in the game, and they're suddenly back in the game. They've not been in the game, but they are in the game. So credit to them, man, that they didn't have much in the way of chances. There's handbags again. Interestingly, Joy Neville didn't really ping anyone for the handbags. When there was the first handbags, she said, if you guys are going to keep this up, I'm going to penalise someone. She didn't really follow through with that one, which is, I don't know. I always compare refereeing to parenting, which is maybe not a fair example, but I feel like you need to follow through with that kind of thing if you want people to take you seriously. But yeah, France do get a line out in England's half, which was kind of rare for them before full time, but they go like 2 phases before they knock it on, and it's England who end up with the ball in France's half before full time, but even they can't get that kind of knockout blow with a penalty or whatnot, but it's like 79 and a half minutes on the clock by that point. So the game is more or less done, and yeah, it does finish with that same scoreline, 13-7. So, I mean, England with 68% possession, 70% territory, 23 defenders beaten to 5, will certainly look back on this game and go, yeah, we were dominant, but you're one converted try away from losing this game. So I don't think they'll be that chuffed. Clean breaks finishes 1 apiece. Turnovers 1 is 6-4 with France having the 6. Tackles 214 to 74. France had some defending to do at 87%, which is solid numbers, but England 93, so no slouches either in that department. Penalties conceded as 11 apiece. The outside backs for England, McDonald and Kildun, 4 defenders beaten each is a pretty solid shift, but as I said, just not that clinical, eh? Sometimes a little bit lacking creativity. The number 7 for France, Mayans, makes 24 tackles. Philippon, the midfielder, makes 2 turnovers, which is good news of Vernier, like I mentioned, with the big tackles in the midfield also. So yeah, there you go. That's the big game of the Saturday for sure, and of the pool stages generally. Like 2 of the most professional teams, like in terms of the women's game, leading the way in professionalism. And it's an arm wrestle. It's a dominant performance from England in terms of ball and hand stuff, but it's met by a fantastic defensive shift from the French, which ends up being a pretty low scoring one. So there you go. You guys let us know your thoughts. Do you reckon England are looking vulnerable after this one, or are they looking just that dominant? France, they only fired like 1 shot, really, but they got 1 try from it. But yeah, like I said, I don't think either side's going to be that happy. You guys let us know your thoughts, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.